They gave us 3 hours, you guys, on a Monday, and I don't know what to tell you. They gave us 2 hours on a Sunday, 3 hours on a Monday. This is where we are a week and a half later. There's no way that I could get that much content and edit it and put it up. I'm severely regretting this lip, and I'm severely regretting not putting any makeup on, but this is where we're at right now. Melanated! Okay, we are back today with this bold lip called Melanin Goddess by Black Radiance. This is the second time I've worn this. I don't know if it was 90 Day Fiance before the 90 days, but I was wearing a gray shirt and I was also wearing this necklace. So this necklace and this lip goes together, apparently. All right, you guys, so this is the tell-all. And my hair is done. The front part of my hair is redone. Girl, it looks like it's new. It looks new, girl. It looks new. You know it looks new. A lot happened in this tell-all. And for those of you who signed that petition to have Sean Robinson not be the host of 90 Day Fiance, shade. I don't think she's boring. I just think that she's never prepared with like a quip or a joke or a filler for when she asks an awkward question and there is no response. Like she just like sits there and looks too. I'm like, I need you to look at the camera. I need you to make a joke with your eyes. I need you to do something. She just sits there and looks at them, and it's like this awkward moment, and the editors don't edit out, so it feels awkward. And so those of us in the audience are like, what is happening? I had to break up I Pronounce You in the Tell-All because it was just too much content. I'm gonna be honest with you. It takes me 5 to 7 hours to watch, film, and edit 1 2-hour episode. So to give me 5 hours worth of content in 2 days, like, it's just, you were just asking for a disaster. Sean introduces the cast. Everyone is there except for Azan. They are wondering where Azan is, girl, and we all know where Azan is. In Morocco, minding his own dang business. Oh, and who else isn't there? Luis. Everyone is surprised that Luis isn't there. I wasn't surprised based on what I saw the last time, but from watching this tell-all, I now realize that the cast actually has seen most of the season. They just haven't seen the last couple episodes. So I think maybe either the last or the last 2 episodes they haven't seen. So we get some very genuine and real reactions from the cast to certain things. They saw the witchcraft episode with Molly and Luis, but they were still shocked that he wasn't there. So I guess that what it is they didn't see the next episode where Molly admits and acknowledges that she has already married Luis. So that's where the cast is on what's going on with the show. Andre is the only person there who is like, yeah, Luis is not here, duh. And they ask him why, and he says because Luis is a punk. He really thought Luis was a punk from the jump. He was not convinced about Luis's whole witchcraft business. He was like, that doesn't even make any sense. Just like I said, like, to me, honestly, if you are really into your faith, like, you worrying about witchcraft is like worrying about unicorns. Like, really? Like, you really think there's witchcraft? Like, do people really think there's witchcraft? I guess. I mean, I just don't. I mean, even when I was a Christian, I never really believed in the witchcraft or the devil. Perhaps to Luis, seeing that she has Buddha and masks and different things makes him, because he's a part of the Catholic faith and he like sees statues and different things as real symbols of such things, he was probably feeling some type of way. And Molly explains that later. I think I'm getting ahead of myself, so let me just go back to here. So Azan is missing. He hasn't had any contact with Nicole or producers for 3 days, so Nicole is very nervous and doesn't know what's going on with Azan. Annie is excited to meet Nicole because Sean then asks who's excited to meet who, and Annie says that she's excited to meet Nicole because she saw Nicole on season 4, I believe. So she went into this already knowing about Azan and Nicole. Annie also mentions that she feels like Azan is mean to Nicole and that Azan really doesn't love Nicole, and boop, we all think the same thing. Yeah, like this whole witchcraft business with Luis, like everyone is agreeing except for Spanish David. Spanish David comes off with some whole thing of like how living in a Christian household, he wouldn't feel comfortable with that kind of stuff all around the house. And I'm like, it makes me feel a kind of way that Luis, being a person of color, being a person of African descent, who is having some sort of emotions about having Molly having African masks in the house, which makes me think that he has taken on the colonizer's mentality and that he's let go of his culture for one moment to even believe that those masks mean something like witchcraft or devilry, because all I see is culture and all I see is Molly appreciating and respecting different religions, different cultures, and different spiritualities. And for Luis not to see that as a person of color, you know how I feel when the colonized take on the negative connotations of their previous culture based on what the colonizers have told them. I have a real issue with that. So Molly is, you know, not necessarily making excuses, but she's definitely pleading Luis's case that he is used to, even though he's a fornicator who drinks, he's used to having his mother pray on him all the time and talk about the Holy Spirit and having all of this like religious like undertones in his daily life, that for him to come to Georgia and not have all that, and then in its place seemingly have these like idols and different things in the house that has nothing to do with his religion or what he knows of religion, was a culture shock. Besides the fact that the food is different, there's no beach, the environment is different for him, and he's just going through it. And I can understand that, going through it. Like whenever I travel to another country, even though it might be beautiful and I love it, if the food doesn't taste the way I think the food should taste, if it doesn't taste the way it would back home, I do get homesick. So like, that's me going on vacation for a week or two. Like I know I can't go any place for 2 weeks. Like I have to be back home within 10 days. So for Luis making this huge transition coming to the United States, all of a sudden, like, everything is different. He has no plantanos, he has no maduros, he has no, you know, there's no food that he's used to. He's having to, everything is changed up. Like I'm sure everything about him is just feeling different and is different because he was in this environment, and I can get him feeling a certain way, but to make up some kind of witchcraft nonsense, or not even make it up, but to use it as an excuse and have in his brain it makes sense that he would say it out loud, was like crazy to me. So then they start talking about how friends have influenced the couples, and so they specifically talk about Joe with Josh and Ika, and then they talk about Michaela with Evelyn and David. And Sean actually brings up a really good point. She actually calls out the fact that Evelyn just let David talk mess about Michaela in that moment. Evelyn defends herself because she says in that moment she felt like she had to be on David's side because David, this was his coming to America party, and she wanted him to feel at home, and she felt that if he felt attacked, she had to be on his side. And I partly feel that the producers might have set up for Michaela to talk about David and how she doesn't trust his relationship with Evelyn. And so I do think it's part of, you know, the producers bad as well, but you know, the producers don't care, they just want to start a drama. And I guess I could understand Evelyn's point of view a little bit. I was definitely disappointed with her. I'm still definitely disappointed with her, but I could see her wanting to defend her intended in that moment and wanting to make him feel comfortable, even though it was hurting her to do so to her friend. And the same thing with Josh and Joe. Josh makes some stupid comment about it being America, and Joe's allowed to say what he wants to say, and I was just like, no, that's not a part of being American, being able just to say what you wanted to say. And Evelyn brought up a really good point. Evelyn is just like, look, you know, Joe is saying that he doesn't trust Ika, but when Ika says, okay, I don't need this, I'll just go back to the Philippines, which proves that she's not necessarily here just for the green card. Like, Joe's then saying he doesn't trust her. So at any point, Ika can't win. And, you know, and Josh just won't say, yeah, my friend Joe is full of it, and he won't just like let it go. For some reason, he's really, you know, wanting to blame Ika when he should be coming after me. And that's what I think, right? Joe should be coming after Josh, not Ika. Josh is the fool. And then we next have Robba Lee, who's Nicole's mother. She comes out on stage and she sits next to Nicole, and Sean tries to have a conversation with Robba Lee, but Nicole honestly doesn't want her mom to divulge any secrets. The mom is trying to say, like, you know, Nicole has sent X amount of money to Azan. Azan doesn't have a job, like all the issues that are wrong with Azan, and Nicole's just like, Mom, stop talking. And like when Sean tried to ask Nicole how much she gives to Azan in a month, or specifically how much she's given to Azan that month, Nicole didn't want to say, and Robba Lee was like, say it. Western Union, Western Union, Western Union. So what happens is the mother gives Nicole money, Robba Lee gives Nicole money, but they set it up to where Robba Lee has access to the account so that Robba Lee can see what her money is going towards. So if Nicole comes to her asking for gas money after she spent all her own money, Robba Lee's okay, I'll give you money, but then she wants to see what's going on with this money. And then when she goes on, she notices that the reason why Nicole doesn't have any money herself is because she's giving it all to Azan in Morocco. End up not getting anywhere with Nicole because Nicole doesn't want to actually admit to anything. She, you know, when Sean's like, okay, so you give him money, she's like, you said it. Like, she doesn't want to say, I give Azan money. I gave him X amount of money this month. She doesn't want to say it because she's probably embarrassed and she knows people are going to judge her more than they already do. Then they brought up the issue of Nicole allowing May, or like supporting May, calling Azan daddy, and how, you know, she's done it before with other boyfriends or with the boyfriend before, and how Nicole just really doesn't want to talk about it. She just wants to keep everything in the greatest light as possible, and it's not gonna happen. Like, and she's really uncomfortable, and I think it's because she's so like wilted about it that nobody really pushes her on it, and they kind of ask her the questions and then they pull back when she like gets quiet and gets weird and like seems like she's gonna cry, you know? Then they bring out, what are we calling Nikki and Chris? Are we calling them like the mascot couple? Are we calling them like the unofficial 7th couple? They come out and Nikki looks great. I mean, I'm loving this blue. It's really popping on camera. Chris looks great. She holds on to her man the entire time. They have a conversation with David and Annie, with Nikki and Chris, and it is just, I mean, Nikki does not like David, you guys. It makes me uncomfortable with how much she doesn't like him, and like she says it to him all the time. So we find out in this episode that they have been friends since 2009, and in 2009, shortly after they became friends, David lost all of his money. So when they were both single, Chris and David together, Chris decided he was gonna like go around the world and do stuff. And so he paid for David's finances, paid for all of his stuff that he needed to pay for back home, and also took him with him on the road, and they traveled around together. So not only did Chris pay for the things that David was supposed to pay for while he was traipsing around the world, he also paid for David to come with him around the world. So that's a lot of money a month he's spending on one person. He says that David is the life of the party and his best friend. And David obviously gives something to Chris that Chris is not getting from anywhere else. Don't know what that is, but Chris really supports David and loves him and is like, that's his brother. So when David falls in hard times, he finances everything and David goes around with him. And then Chris meets Nikki, and Nikki quickly, you know, comes in and is just like, what is this relationship about? What is the situation about? And, you know, we find out, I think that Nikki and Chris have been married for about 5 years, right? So if he lost his money in 2009, Nikki has been with Chris longer than Chris has known David. So now Nikki's putting her foot down about him giving David money because she's seen him do it, and she's like, now she's at the point where she's like, you need to stop giving him money. You need to take him off the teat and let David go. David needs to be a grown-ass man. Stop spending the money on David. And Chris is having a hard time doing so because he did it for such a long time in such great amounts. And they even talk about having to add up all the money that Chris has spent on David. And Nikki's like, honestly, if I add up all this money, then I think it's going to break us up. Like, I will leave Chris. I wonder what that prenup is like. Sean brings up the fact that everyone has been calling Annie a gold digger. And she's like, what? Gold digger? This is my favorite. That's my favorite comment. You know, and all the other people, all the other couples are listening backstage. And she's talking about how, you know, you want a man who can take care of you. Like, all women want a man who can take care of them. I don't understand this issue. Like, why is it a problem? You know, it's not like it's just me, it's all women. And like, I mean, there are some women out there who will stand on their high horse and say that they don't want their man to take care of them. And like, you know, normally that would be me. I don't necessarily want a man to take care of me. Like, it has to be the only thing that he can do or else I'm out of it. But I definitely want him to be able to do so that if I wanted to make the choice to not work and pursue what I wanted to do, then I could do that. But also I would feel like I would need to be able to do the same thing on the other end. I want us both to be equal in that fact. And if we're not, at least I need to be, because I'm not about being broke at any moment in my life. I understand where Annie's coming from, because again, we are coming from a very Western idea of what marriage is and a very Western idea of what it is, you know, it to be in a couple. And she's not. She's coming from a more, you know, traditional, I think, way of thinking about it. Like, traditionally, when we go back, you know, decades, women had to choose men who could take care of them simply because of the way the workforce was. It wasn't built for women to work. And so you had to have a man in order to survive, in order to have progeny, in order to eat. You had to be with a man who could support you and who could take care of you and the family. And that is what Annie is looking for. And everyone wants to call Annie full of it and BS, and that she's only in it for the green card. And I don't think she's only in it for those things, but I do think she is in it for some of those things, which is like not bad. Like, everyone makes it seem like you're supposed to just love the person that you're married with to the moon and back. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you get married to somebody because you're cool, they're cool, you guys think you can get along and you try to do it and then you can't, or because they're terrible with money, or because they're emotionally terrible with you. There's all kinds of things that break up marriages, but people act like money shouldn't be one of them. Money should never be the issue when it comes to love. But not all marriages are based on love. Some marriages are based on mutual understanding and mutual desires and mutual wants that have nothing to do with necessarily love, but selfish desires. David wants somebody young that can take care of him, who will have sex with him, and Annie wants to move to America so that she can work and take care of her family and have kids. Like, Sean is like, do you want to have kids with David? She's like, I want to have kids. Like, maybe it doesn't necessarily matter who she has kids with, but like, what's the big deal? And everyone's trying to say the same thing about Ica too, and it's just like, you guys, it's a part of the package. Like, you're living in a fairy tale if you think that it shouldn't matter how much money he has or whether or not he could support them. Like, not to say that he has to support them, she's never gonna work, but does he have the capability to do so in case she chooses not to? Or does he have the funds to do so in case something happens to him and she has to live on her own? Girl, you have to think about these things. These are valid points. So then they bring out Antonio. And this is where I'm just like,